Hello, algebra students. Mr. Lawrence here, and this video is especially for Shayna because she asked for it, and I hope you all can benefit from it. Yeah, this will be the last grade of the quarter. It'll be the quiz on Thursday. There won't be any factoring on it yet. We're going to spend a lot of time factoring. We're going to get good at factoring, but we're not ready to test on it. All right, so one of the first things you're going to need to do is classify polynomials. Remember, they get classified by degree and the number of terms. And I'm actually going to give you problems, but what I'm going to do as I do some of the other problems that are going to be in this section, I'll mention what they are or see if you can. So remember, degree, if we have just a plain old number like that, that's called a constant. Okay, that's a constant, right? If our highest degree is x to the first power, well then we call it linear, right? It's a linear polynomial. All right, if we have an x squared as our highest power, then it's quadratic, right? Quadratic. You notice the trinomials we've been working with have been quadratic. Third degree is cubic, right? Cubic. And the fourth degree would be quartic. And the way you remember that is 4 is quarters, all right? Of course, the number of terms, if there's one term, we call a monomial, right? One term is a monomial. If there are two terms, we'll call it a binomial. All right. Three terms is a trinomial. And then more than three, we call it a polynomial. Okay, with degree higher than 4, we just call it degree 5, degree 6, etc. All right, so those, you need to be familiar with those. I'm not going to have you matching, but I'll have you telling me what something is. So let's go over here to, I don't want to start with that. There we go. I want to start with adding and subtracting polynomials. This is all just about combining like terms. There's two problems here, A and B. Why don't you go ahead and pause the video and see if you can figure out what the sums and the differences are. All right, and then go ahead and classify it as well. All right, here comes my answer. One thing I like to do, and if you want to do this, that's fine. You can highlight the like terms. Okay, and notice I've got a lot of different colors. Notice I grabbed that plus sign on the 3 because it's a positive 3. Very important that I grab that plus sign. Okay, here I've got a negative 5x. Yeah, really easy to miss that if you don't grab it. Grab the sign, that is. Okay, a positive, and then over here I have a positive 2 and a negative 8. They're my like terms. Now, because it's addition, I can just go ahead and do this and combine my like terms. So how many x to the fourth do I have? Looks like I have 9 altogether, don't I? 9x to the fourth. The green ones, it looks like I have 5x squared, right? The blue ones look like they cancel out, a negative 5x and a positive 5x. And then the purple ones, looks like gives me a negative 6. And here I have a quartic trinomial. It is written in descending order, but notice there's no x cubed term and there's no x to the first term. If you really wanted to, you could think about it like this, plus 0x cubes plus 5x squared plus 0x's minus 6. Now I know Asim's going to go, well, why don't I write it like that? Well, that's not the simplest form. And it doesn't become a polynomial. It's still only a trinomial because these are the same as 0. This one and this one here are both the same as 0. And so therefore they cancel out, or they drop out of the polynomial expression. So that means it's only a trinomial. All right, so that was a quartic trinomial. Why? Because it's degree 4 and there are 3 terms. All right, now the second one here, before I can go and combine my like terms, I have to distribute this negative. This negative means the whole quantity is being subtracted. The easy way to do this is to distribute a negative 1, which changes all 3 signs. Now when I go and highlight, it'll change things a little bit. So let's see here. I got a 16x squared, okay, and a negative 12x squared, right? All right, I've got a negative 8x and a negative 8x, right? Yeah. A positive 3 and a positive 7. So if I distribute that negative, what I end up with is, let's see, a 4x squared, a negative 16x, and a positive 10. And so I have a quadratic trinomial. If you have a negative in front of a quantity, you have to distribute it through the quantity. All right, so then we also have to know how to multiply polynomials. And again, I don't care if you use double distribution or if you use FOIL. You do it whichever way allows you to get the right answer. All right, so I'm going to double distribute, right? And then I will distribute the negative 5 as well. Okay, and so we're going to get 18x squared plus a 24x. And we're going to get a negative 15x, and I'm a vertical kind of guy. I would rather be vertical than horizontal when it comes to addition and subtraction, so I write them above and below each other. And then finally a negative 20, and I'll put the negative 20 here. Now I combine my like terms, and it looks like I'm going to get 18x squared plus 9x minus 20. And there you go. All right, on D, FOIL won't work, so I'm going to have to double distribute. So I'm going to distribute the 2x to all three terms in the second quantity. And then I'm going to distribute the negative 5 in the second quantity, all three terms. Okay, so we're going to get what? 8x to the fourth plus 4x cubed minus 9x. All right, then when I distribute the negative 5, I'm going to get a negative 20x cubed. I'm going to get a negative 10x squared. Ooh, I'm not going to write that there because I don't like it. 10x squared. And then a positive 45. Now, it bothers me that I'm not in descending order anymore, but I'll fix that in a second. All right, so how many x to the fourth do I have? Well, I have 8. Okay. How many x cubes? Well, I have negative 16. Right? Okay, how many x squareds? I have 10. How many x's? I have negative 9. And constants, I just have 45. All right, and if you could classify that, that will be a quartic polynomial. All right, I got 4 more for you to try here. They're all binomials in this case. Go ahead and pause the video, see what you can do. By the way, on E and F, if you only get a binomial answer, you're not doing this properly. No. Okay, here come my solutions. Now, in my head, I don't actually write this down, but in my head, I know that the quantity of 3x plus 2 squared means 3x plus 2 times 3x plus 2. And so when I double distribute, I'm going to get a 9x squared. I'm going to get a 12x. How did I get 12x? Well, I got 6x here, and I've got 6x there, so therefore I have 12x's. And then I have a positive 4. If you practice this, you can get pretty quick, okay? Now, go ahead and classify. You should have a quadratic trinomial. Okay, F is a very similar problem. Hopefully you've tried it already. If you don't want to write it out and you can remember what to do, you can go 16x squared. Okay, there's going to be a plus 25 over here. I'm going to multiply these two together and double it. That'd be negative 20, must be negative 40x. And there you go. And again, I got a quadratic trinomial. If you need to write it out, you go ahead and write it out. 4x minus 5, 4x minus 5. If you want to FOIL, you go ahead and FOIL. If you want to double distribute, like I do, you'll double distribute like that, and then like this. Okay? All right. So, G is actually easier because in the course of double distribution, well, wait a minute. You go ahead and do it first. Okay, hopefully you've tried it by now. If you haven't, you're only hurting yourself. So in the course of double distribution, I'm going to at some point multiply these two numbers together, and I'm going to get a positive 6x. I'm also going to multiply these two together, and that's going to be a negative 6x. So they're going to cancel out. This is simply going to be 36x squared minus 1. Yeah, if you double distribute and line everything up, you should get a positive 6x and a negative 6x, which will cancel to 0. By the way, I have a quadratic binomial here, right? Hey, did you notice that they're both perfect squares? That's important for after break. See how this is a perfect square, 36x squared, and 1's a perfect square? Yeah, that's important for after break. All right, H is done very similarly. Again, if you haven't tried it, please pause it. All right, here we go. 25x squared minus 4. Why? Because negative 2 times 5x is negative 10x, and 5x times 2 is positive 10x. They cancel out. All right, that's all that's going to be on the quiz Thursday. You're going to have to add and subtract polynomials. You're going to have to multiply polynomials of different types, and you're going to have to be able to classify them. That's it. Mr. Lawrence signing off. Have a good night, everybody.